Hello CGNE family, this is Pastor Eric, and as you know, our city is beginning to open up. Some of the restrictions are beginning to alleviate, and the staff has been working incredibly hard behind the scenes to figure out what our next steps are going to look like as we attempt to gather again and even utilize our building once more. We know that there's lots of opinions, lots of people who think we should be moving faster, some people think that we should be moving much slower than we are, and there's more variables, honestly, to consider than we can even get to the end of. And so I want to emphasize as we update you right now that there's still lots of unknowns, there's still lots of flexibility that is going to be necessary on behalf of our congregation as we decide what to do next over the next few months and in all areas of society really, but as we as a church decide what we are going to do in regathering. We also though don't want you to feel like you're just left in the dark, and so we want to give an update today about our intentions and set a trajectory of where we want to go heading in the future, knowing that those things might change as updates are made available. First, it's our priority to make sure that we maintain a healthy and safe environment, both for those who are in a compromised immune system kind of situation or have health issues that make them unable to gather, but also for those who just don't feel comfortable gathering. And so as we move forward, you should know that we are likely going to be a little bit behind whatever the recommendations of our governing officials are. We're not going to track with them step by step, but instead be a little bit more cautious and make sure that we are able to keep up with those things and do them and execute them in a way that does honor to the heart of what we're trying to accomplish in keeping a healthy environment and one that is conducive for people to be able to gather in a meaningful way. It'll be necessary for us to pay really close attention to children's services and to the public schools as they update the public on their intentions, because we have a lot of kids inside of our church. And as you might easily realize, it's incredibly difficult to ask or enforce a small child to wear a mask or abide by any kind of social distancing norms that might be recommended to us. Additionally, there's some cleanliness and sanitization standards that we're having to work out currently that are being established as we move forward. CGNE has always been built on two main contexts to help you engage in devotion to God, in community with one another, and on mission to the world around us. Those two contexts are our Sunday morning gatherings and our house church scattered throughout in the week. And I want to address both of those ideas as we move forward. First, the Sunday gatherings. In order for those who can't gather due to health reasons or who do not feel comfortable gathering for a while, we are going to provide some sort of online offering, gathering, and context for them to be able to engage with God's people safely from their homes. As we do that, it's our intention to offer opportunities for them to engage in mission, to be in community together, and we're excited to announce that in order to help us along that intention, that we have been awarded the Connect Through Tech grant from the Center for Congregations. And so we have around $4,000 that we were awarded in order to help us bolster our online presence, to resource you with online materials, and to outfit our sanctuary for broadcasting live services. As you tune in over the next few weeks, and you've already seen it, you're going to see more faces from CGNE leadership, more people helping to preach and helping to lead worship as we post our online services and have our live feeds through our online platform. We hope, God willing, to be able to host in-house gatherings again when school resumes in August, and we even hope before then to do a couple of dress rehearsals in the meantime where we'll have our volunteers on site and maybe a couple of volunteers for those of you who are really eager to get into the building as we work out all the bugs for our live broadcasting and as we get our ducks in the row in order to meet the CDC health requirements for sanitation and cleanliness inside of our sanctuary and on our campus. We'll continue to watch the CDC and governing officials and keep you updated along the way, and as you all well know, remain flexible. Things can definitely change between now and then. Second, in our house church context, we, like many churches, have the ability to utilize the building blocks of smaller communities as we move towards whatever is the new norm in the future for churches. Those contexts also revolve around community devotion and mission. And so they really are living, breathing images of Common Ground Northeast scattered throughout neighborhoods. So if you're not in a house church, I want to urge you, please, we've tried to make it easier for you to get into an online community, but we want to urge you, please get connected to a house church, please get connected to an online community so that you're not left alone without a church community during this time. If you're already in a house church, we encourage you to discuss what your comfort level as a group is in June and July for backyard gatherings, for meeting possibly in parks or even in houses eventually. To be clear, we urge you to abide by all of the recommendations from the CDC and the officials who are pouring all of their resources into helping us navigate this situation. So make sure that as you meet, you are meeting the CDC and governing official guidelines. As things loosen up and as your group feels comfortable, we think it would be a great idea for more house churches to gather in kind of house church collective parties. And you might watch the Sunday service, or you might watch it on demand later on, and it's possible that you just do something on mission together, but maybe 2 or 3 house churches in a region will combine together to do some sort of devotion, community, and mission together as we move forward and groups are allowed to meet in larger and larger contexts. As we do that, again, please abide by all of the precautionary recommendations through the CDC and our governing officials. Just some final thoughts before we go. One is the idea of unity. We've noticed, as a staff and as leadership, that since there are so many strong opinions about whether to gather, whether not to gather, I believe personally that this is a means for the enemy to attempt to divide his churches right now. And it would be very easy for us to go with the church that meets our preferences for meeting earlier or meeting later. And I just see that as you look back, you step out and look at that, it's easy to see that this is a strategy of the enemy to try to divide his church. And I want to encourage you, don't just give in to your own preferences. Be accommodating. Our faith is built on us serving one another. And so let's be unified as we move forward and not even judge each other as we're making those decisions. But in opposition to disunity, actually defer to one another's preferences moving forward. The second is the idea of flexibility. In the last 2 weeks, we've talked about trusting God in both of our sermons. The first, we talked about how we don't have control, but we can rest knowing that we know the God who is in control. And so in that regard, we want to hold all of our plans with this in mind. If the Lord wills, right? If the Lord wills, we will do such and such a thing and go to such and such a place. And if the Lord wills, our plans will pan out the way we've asked them. But if not, they will change, and we're going to trust Him in the midst of that. The second week, we talked about that we make plans, we train ourselves just like David's army did. But in the end, they stopped and said, you help me. If I need help in this battle, I'll help you if you need help. But in the end, the Lord will do what is good in His sight. So again, we submit our plans and our trajectory to the Lord to do what He seems is good in His own sight. I want to read to you Psalm 40, 1 through 3, as we ask for this type of patience in our congregation. It says this: I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. And so as we're asking you to wait, we also ask you to invest your time waiting, knowing that the Lord is the one who rescues, who pulls us up from the pit, who even puts a new song in our mouth and draws people to Him, even in dark times that we're walking through right now. And the last thing I wanted to mention is just continue to be on mission. As we have asked for you to be generous and donate, in addition to the normal tithes and offerings, we have raised over $4,000 for Indy Courageous Kitchens, who are feeding the most vulnerable while employing hospitality workers right now as we speak in this time. We want to continue. The more funds we raise, the longer amount of time we are able to support that ministry, and eventually maybe even up the amount of people we're able to feed on a week-to-week basis. Continue to give as the Lord allows you. We've also been able to bolster up our benevolence, and now we're starting to see needs arise. And so we can ask you to continue to donate to those things on our giving page, that we will be able to help families in need as those needs arise. And our engagement team is also currently working to make a long-term partnership with Lawrence Township so that they can help support under-resourced populations that are in their realm of influence. And we'll have more details coming out about this in the future, but eventually we're going to want you right now at least to pray for that, but eventually to probably give to something along those lines in order to help Belzer Middle School, Lawrence Central, Lawrence North, and the schools that are really our neighbors right around us inside of Lawrence Township. CGNE. I have also, and this is probably one of the most powerful things, I think one of the biggest testimonies our church gets to say on the other side of this, is that I have heard countless moments and stories of care and support and financial gifts that you've given people personally and as house churches over the time. You have adopted families and made sure that they were taken care of. You have engaged meal trains, donated meals. You have donated gift cards. You have made sure that people got groceries that weren't able to go out regularly because of their own health conditions. This, to me, as a church that leans on house churches as our main form of pastoral care and its mission, is the biggest win I can think of. Continue to do these things. Do not grow weary in doing good. We are on mission together, families, clusters, house churches, and hopefully one day gathered again as the Lord sees fit. We love you. We can't wait to gather with you again in person. We're able to do so in a healthy and a meaningful way. Until then, we'll see you through our online engagements, through our various platforms, and in house churches as the Lord wills, and may He do what seems good in His own sight.